Hello, you 5.8 million wonderful dingbats who somehow like to think that Russell Brand is a incredible truth teller and that he is delivering some sort of important news that only he can really discover through his incredible power of his, I don't know, giant brain. Pick your poison. I don't really care. But I'm here today to try and challenge you on your assumptions about Russell Brand to prove he has no idea what he is talking about. And especially when it comes to the subject of Ukraine. He knows nothing about that subject. He does not once approached an actual expert who even disagrees with his opinion. Even if you agree with Brand's opinion, who Brand says, well, I like talking to people who I disagree with, why has he never talked to anyone who disagrees with his stance on Ukraine, that this is all NATO's or it's all Russia's fault? Oh, it's all America's fault. Sorry, I said the truth there because it is Russia's fault. Let me challenge your assumption. And I hope you would stay with me to challenge you on this assumption, because if you are, like Russell claims, that you're an audience of open-minded people, then I would hope you would have the sense to actually listen to my argument and be willing to be challenged on this assumption. Because I will tell you now, if you feel yourself that you would like to challenge me and come onto this platform, because I have challenged one person already, and I'll tell you now, it did not go well for them. They were predicting this war would never happen. A week later, this war happened. But if you do feel after this you want to challenge me on this, feel free to get in contact with me. I'm more than happy and would love to have this debate with you guys. So, to everyone else, thank you very much for coming along and, of course, watching. Like I say, as always, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. Of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button, and, of course, the Pony Club down below. Bet Russell doesn't give you ponies as his part of his YouTube stuff. So, and of course, comment down below as well. I would love to hear what Russell Brand fans actually think of this. So, let's go over this. So, Russell Brand's latest assertion that he makes in a video called "So It's All Over" makes the claim that recently in 2021, Jeffrey Stoltenberg, the guy who's in charge of NATO, said that if we had made the promise not to allow Ukraine into NATO, this war would have never have happened. This is a complete fantasy and fairy tale story. Not only Russell is spinning to you, but it's a fantasy and fairy story that is coming directly from Russian propaganda and from an audience that is apparently meant to be immune or good at spotting propaganda. It's shocking that you all fall for this line and narrative time and time again. So let's take Russell at his word for the moment. Let's say in 2021, NATO goes, okay, we are not going to allow NATO into Ukraine. In what world, given if you've been seeing anything that Vladimir Putin has been saying, ignoring the fact that Russian troops and funding has been going into the Donbass rebels since this all began. They funded corruption in Ukraine for years to try and attract them, to bring them into their sphere of orbit. They used economic coercion to try and force Ukraine into their sphere of orbit. What in the right world, if NATO gave that promise, can you say that Russia does not invade? Because what you have just done, or what NATO would have then gifted to Vladimir Putin, is a free hand to go and invade Ukraine knowing that no Western nation or European country is going to get involved. Because if you've seen all the stuff that Vladimir Putin had been saying up prior to the invasion of this war, during this invasion of the war, he has been made crystal clear. He considers Ukraine to be part of Russia. All their propaganda that the Russians have been pumping out since lead up to this war and during this war has been constantly that these Ukrainians, they're not Ukrainians, they're just Russians, but they've just lost their way. And you're telling me now that if in your fantasy world that NATO accepts Putin's offer to not allow Ukraine into NATO, you're honestly saying, given the fact that Russia has prosecuted other wars of countries that aren't in NATO, you're seriously saying this war doesn't happen. All I can say is you are a fantasist. You are an absolute fantasist. You do not believe in real world political actions. You do not believe in anything real. You instead would rather trust someone like Russell Brand or these other idiots who are trying to spin you this narrative that somehow it is NATO's fault or it's America's fault because they funded a coup. And those are the two lines you hear from these people. The coup line is completely false. If you know anything about what was going on in Ukraine or you read about what was going on, this wasn't funded by America. This was the Ukrainian people standing up and giving their voice as to the direction they wanted to go. They wanted to go in a more European direction. And they said that loudly and clearly. And Russia did not like that. That's why they funded these Donbass rebels. They funded an attempted another republic, which failed. You don't hear about that one up in Kherson because that attempted rebellion failed because the people of Kherson were like, who are these guys? Who are these people who have just randomly turned up saying, yes, we're going to become the independent Republic of Kherson? They got pushed out. You don't hear about them because it failed. The Donbass one succeeded more. And there's a lot more stuff you can point to what Russia was doing in the lead up to this war and from like 2014 onwards, which they did. And people like Russell Brand just ignore. No, it's far more easier to blame NATO and the US. But I would challenge anyone. If you still believe Russell Brand, I would challenge you on this. If NATO had given this pledge to Russia and said Ukraine will not join NATO, given the fact you have Putin numerous times saying how much Ukraine is part of Russia, that it is theirs, that it should be part of, it should be part of Russia, saying that the Ukrainian language shouldn't exist, that again the Ukrainian people are like Russians who have lost their way. How on earth can you say that this war probably would have not happened sooner and would still have happened? It just been the case you probably wouldn't have had Western countries getting involved, helping out Ukraine, who was defending themselves. And that's why I call you fantasists, and that's why I call Russell a complete and utter lunatic, because he has no answer to this either. And if Russell Brand sees this, I will gladly come on your show. I will gladly put back to you all your nonsense and say why it is wrong of what you are saying and why you are falling for propaganda. I would challenge you openly on that, my friend. And we won't even talk about all the other stuff that you're involved with. But we'll just stick to Ukraine. But I doubt you're ever going to do that. So, hey, there you go. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, leave your like and of course, share before you go. And of course, down below, there's the comment section. Remember to leave a comment. And as always, we'll see you all next time.